All right, everyone. Well, welcome today. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we're going to talk about the idea of getting licensed in multiple real estate licenses for multiple different states. Basically, at the long run of it, people think a way to get busier is to just gain more licenses. So, today, we're going to talk about what is the idea like of getting more than one license? Like, why do it? Is it worth it? And what could be bad if you've done it? So, if you haven't already done so, make sure to pound the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get the notifications. That way, you can join us on other episodes. Let's get started. So, overall, the idea just in general of gaining business by gaining territory, it just doesn't work. The reason I say that is ultimately speaking, say the state of Massachusetts. I mean, it takes 6 to 8 hours to drive across the entire state. The entire time you're passing by houses. There's transactions happening all the time. If the transactions aren't happening with you, the real question is how do you make them happen with you? Because if you're thinking that adding a new state in is suddenly going to open up some doors that you don't already know about, how do you really figure that's going to happen? Now, often what happens is some family member or someone knows, a friend, a normal client, decides to move over state lines, which then intrigues the agent because they go, okay, I can get my license over there for XYZ requirements. Say Massachusetts to Rhode Island. This is a very easy one. Takes a 3-hour lead paint course, a couple little documents from the state saying that you've got a Corey check, make sure you've got a good background check, make sure you have a lot of good standing with the state. Nothing complex, you get your license and now you can transact and you can make the commissions off of a sale. So obviously attractive. But when it comes to the day-to-day business of being a real estate agent, is it really attractive to drive, say, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to a showing? Or are you spending a lot of the time of your job constantly driving, which means that you're not spending the time in income producing behaviors such as lead generation, such as going out and showing property to other clients, going out and meeting with sellers to talk about listing agreements, going out and meeting more people, networking and growing your sphere of influence. Instead, you're in the car driving from here to there, constantly spending time that could be spent doing better things that could grow your business faster. Now, that's one side of the story, right? Because we're talking about the idea of is it not worth it? But then let's throw it back the other direction. Let's talk a little bit about why being licensed in multiple states could be worth it to you. Now, if you're a person who lives, say, in southeastern Massachusetts, way down southeastern Massachusetts, you're right on the Rhode Island border. A lot of times, buyers are going to look both in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, a lot of times because Rhode Island has slightly lower prices, which allows a buyer to have more for their budget, which can be intriguing. Sometimes those showings don't go as planned and you end up back in Massachusetts, but being able to facilitate that might be a necessity for your business so that you don't lose business to other agents that are doing that. Now, if you're in Boston Metro, are you going to want to drive down to Providence every day to show homes? The answer is probably no, unless I guess that's where you found your success, but you might want to pick up your life, move it down there, place it there, because driving that often, no matter who you are, is not productive. Now I know some of you are out there, well, I talk on the phone the whole time, I do these different things that make that time worth it, but the truth is spending time in your car, driving to and from appointments is one of the biggest wastes of times, and that's why you see a lot of agents when they get busier, they get assistants, they get teammates, they get showing agents, they get people to drive them around, because being able to think, being able to react, being able to talk to people is another way to build your business, even when on the road. But obviously when driving, you got to focus on the road. So if you're not focused on your lists and all these things, it's not going to be the same driving unless you have a driver. Maybe you're aside and you're that level now and you have a driver for going out to your showings. But guys, aside that joke, the reality is driving to and from showings sometimes is taxing, but state line agents, it might be something that you have to do. And why is that? Well, if you don't, and your competition is, would your buyer go use someone else? I myself, I'm licensed in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. I started the process of getting Florida, and then I stopped. And the reason was, honestly, guys, just like you, I only have so much time in the day, right? So I was spending all this time trying to get a license, taking these classes, spending extra time after work. Instead of focusing on growing my local brokerage or doing any of that, I'm spending more money, more time, more energy, only to think, well, now who do I know in Florida, or how am I going to grow my business in Florida? So new marketing money, new flights, new times, where do I stay, more rent, all the things that come with it. Reality sometimes only comes in as an afterthought, because at first you have some sort of huge deal going on where you go, I could take that deal, I can make 10,000, 20,000, 100,000. Who knows? Maybe it's Miami. Maybe it's even more than that. Maybe it's $300,000. If it's that, you should probably get the license and just figure it out for the time being. But that, guys, it's not normally that. It's normally $10,000, $20,000. Now, a referral. A referral is something we should really talk about, because I don't think a lot of agents truly understand or utilize the power of the referral. The referral comes where you take a buyer or seller locally to you that's going to be moving out of state. Maybe they're not local to you, maybe they just reach out to you, but they're going to be moving somewhere that you don't service. So what you go ahead and do is you vet an agent for them, you put them to that agent, and for doing so you sign a contract known as a referral agreement with that agent, putting a certain percentage of the commissions into your pocket. Now, in a world where time is money and we don't sell our hours by the hour, right? We don't say, okay, I'm a real estate agent, I'm going to be $40 an hour. We sell commissions, right? We say for us to do it, it's going to be this percent. Now, by doing that, that means that you can earn more money during the same time. So if you take a referral deal and say you take 25, or say you take 35% of the commission, and then during that same time you do another deal, that means you have 125, 135% the commission instead of just 100%, right? So by referring the deal out, taking your time, sucking it back to you, paying attention to your time, you can now have more time to generate more leads locally, to get more buyers and seller appointments, and to get out there and do the work where you can make the money. Now, with the referral deals, they can be a very lucrative business. And a lot of people miss the referral deals. Why? Because when they hear a family member say something like, oh, I'm moving to Florida, the little realtor in their head doesn't keep working. It doesn't think to itself, well, I can actually make money on that deal. For whatever reason, a lot of agents forget this, right? They forget that they can do the referral, which means that when they have opportunities like this, they don't listen to them. In the future, when you hear a family member say, I'm going to be moving to Florida, you can say something like, great, have you started the process yet? They say no, you could say, well, I would love to help connect you with an agent. That way they will find a good one for you. This is still a service, folks. A lot of times, I think it's because a lot of agents don't really offer much value. No offense to you, I'm sure you do. Obviously, you're out here checking out YouTubes and everything. You're obviously one who understands the value of education and everything, but as you guys know, so many of them out there don't offer value, so they don't even understand this, right? They're like, why would someone want me to refer them to another person? I'm just taking some of the money. Well, yeah, if you're just taking some of the money, but usually what I do is I do interviews with the agent. I make sure that the agent's a good fit, and then I kind of sit in the background. I have access to Zillow. I have access to properties, push some property to them, try to help them out, maybe make some comments about their marketing materials. But ultimately, I go along and I continue to help them sell their property. Just because it's a referral doesn't mean they're gone. They're not completely gone. They're still in your wheelhouse, and when time comes, that other agent will have a referral for you, or maybe someone in their office will have a referral for you, and your client will remain your client, so that way there, if they know someone in the area from before, they might still have a referral for you as well. So the referral business is not a bad one. Again, arguments of keeping all the cash, helping another agent out by giving them some of the deal, making a bigger network. It's really a tough call to determine for somebody else, guys, when it comes to whether you should get licensed in multiple states. But I want you to now think about a few other things. Now, with the fact that you're licensed in multiple states, deals are not going to work the exact same way as they do one state to another. Take, for instance, Massachusetts to Rhode Island. In Massachusetts, it's very common for us to use the Massachusetts Association of Realtors contract to purchase in order to make an offer on a property. Whereas in Rhode Island, they use a Rhode Island Association of Realtors purchase and sale agreement with more contingencies than we typically do. So they actually skip out one step compared to where we do at Massachusetts. So this is interesting, right? As a new agent, you got to remember you have to study the other area. You can't just offer your services and not study, because if you don't know what you're talking about, how are you going to add value to your clients? And yes, guys, can you get commissions without adding value? Of course you can. But how long does that last? Only the one transaction. They don't send anyone else. They don't feel comfort with you. They don't really think, okay, I'm going to send this person future deals. So remember, while you can fool people with a quick little sale, you're not going to basically instill that you're a thought leader, instill the idea of using you in the future. They're just going to use you for the transaction, and you're going to become a transactional agent versus an agent who builds a good overall rapport and relationship. So you want to be the relationship based and not the transaction based agent. So guys, other things you want to think about, right, when it comes to keeping all the money and everything is when you're in multiple states, you're going to have to make sure to pay taxes in the different states. So make sure to talk to your accountant about it if you do it, and see what kind of tax implications it'll have, because you will be earning wages in multiple different states. You do end up needing to join the Board of Realtors in multiple states. Depending on the state, some states, the MLS systems locally may or may not require you to be a member of the Realtor Association. But if you're a member in one state, you go to another state, you do end up having to pay for a secondary membership. It's not full dues by any means, it's just a small amount, but you do have to remember to keep up with that. And that way there, you're above the board with everything you're doing. Now guys, when it comes to getting the license in the other states, one of the things you want to do, jump online and really do a lot of research about it, and where do you go and what are the best schools. Because I can tell you, when I took Florida, I got the wrong school and it was click, 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 click. Every single bit of it you had to click in order to go from text box to text box. Now there's other schools where everything's video or even live video through an educator or an instructor online actually doing the class live. I'll tell you, for me, the click, click, click just didn't work. It was very hard to focus on. It was very hard to push forward. So choosing the right school is going to be a big deal when it comes to getting your education and getting other states. You can check out the link down below in the content. We have put in a link for Freedom Trail Realty School, great continued education and education real estate school, now offering multiple different states, so just check that out. Guys, if you're thinking about getting licensed in multiple states, I suggest you do an audit. I suggest you sit down, talk about the pros and cons, write down what you can do, what you can't do, and really think deeply, and then decide to yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth my time? And where will I go from here in order to make both states work out? Will I get a team? Will I stay the same? Or is this my future? Because if it's just for a short period of time, if there isn't a team, if there is just one sale, build that referral network and go from there. Guys, I hope this helps you understand whether you should build a referral network or you should get multiple different licenses in multiple different states. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button. Also, any future episodes you'd like to see, feel free to DM me, PM me, call me, whatever works best. Love to talk to you, and thank you so much for listening.